Greetings and welcome. This is Psychic Medium Roberto, and I truly hope you are doing well today. And before we get started in the show, trigger warning, the subject matter is of a mature nature and deals with true crime events. The disclaimer, all cases are treated as alleged until proven in a court of law. All right, so in today's live session show, we will be looking at the Gabby Petito case, which will be an extract from the book. And of course, the objective of the show today is to go through the emotional markers leading up to the tragic event. And welcome to the viewers that are here already. I see you, green light. Thank you very much. All right, so when we get going, we're going to start off with a video. I've just found a video that I feel will bring us up to speed with the case, because it did happen a couple of years ago in 2021. And so we're going to play a video, and then we'll get into the case itself. All right, so please enjoy the show. And here we go.
It's Gabby Petito in tears on the day she and her fiance got into a nasty argument.
We've just been fighting all morning.
The police body cam video is a poignant contrast to the beaming Gabby we've seen in videos shot during her cross-country road trip with Brian Laundrie. The just-released police video was taken August 12th. Cops pulled the couple's van over outside Arches National Park in Utah after a witness reported them arguing at a grocery store and called 911.
What's your guys' names?
Gabby,
Gabby, Brian, okay.
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
The officer asked Gabby to step out, and she explains what's going on.
I just got quit my job to travel across the country, and I'm trying to start a blog. I have a lot of stuff, so I've been building my website, so I've just been really stressed.
Then Laundrie is questioned.
Tell me what's going on.
She just gets worked up sometimes.
Gabby told police she has OCD. She said she was afraid Laundrie was going to drive off and leave her stranded at the grocery store. She apparently scratched him during the back and forth scuffle.
You want to tell me about those scratches on your face?
She had a cell phone in her hand. That's why I was pushing her away.
On the day they were pulled over, Gabby and her fiance had been living in their small van for about 4 months, crossing the USA, visiting national parks for her travel blog. Now, they told police they were still in love, but after all that time together, the tension had been building until it erupted in tears and shoving. Gabby, still distraught, says being pulled over by the cops added to the stress.
I just saw the lights come on, and it was more just like, you're an idiot.
One officer takes photos of Laundrie's scratches.
I'm not going to pursue anything. She's my fiance. I love her.
Then an officer asks Gabby this question.
When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him?
No.
What were you?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me something.
Gabby sobs as the cop tells her that he's made a decision whether to charge her or not.
You're 22, right? So I'm choosing not to cite you today.
Laundrie was not charged either, but at the cop's insistence, he and Gabby spent the night apart to cool down. Officers gave him a ride to a local hotel.
I just don't usually drive the van, so I just want to make sure it's not like far.
It was obviously very upsetting to us to see her that emotional.
In Northport, Florida, where Brian Laundrie lives, Gabby's father joined the FBI and local police in updating the nation on the search for Gabby.
Whatever you can do to make sure my daughter comes home, I'm asking for that help. There's nothing else that matters to me now.
And on Long Island, a lawyer representing Gabby's family read a heartfelt letter being sent to Brian Laundrie's parents.
And our lives are falling apart. We believe you know the location of where Brian left Gabby. We beg you to tell us.
All right, so, this what a heavy hitting show in terms of, or case. A lot of emotional markers going on. And what we're going to do now is we'll just go through who Gabby Petito was, and the energy still persists today, of course. And yeah, now the reason why I included this because in the book is because a lot of the emotional markers that you would find in a spousal murder case in particular showed up. And of course, unfortunately, we know the outcome, that the outcome didn't end well. And of course, from an investigative point of view, particularly in a relationship that I believe was more transactional and a toxic relationship more than a loving relationship that we may have seen um, on screen when they posted videos and pictures. Now, of course, everyone wants to show their best self, right? So in the book, and in between sessions, I'll attend to comments, all right? So get a bit of a flow with the read. In between, we'll check comments. So I've started the grid from August the 11th until August the 28th, and then we will continue looking at the fateful day as well. But the objective today is just to look at the emotional markers. Now, the first row of orange is the video that we just saw on August the 12th with Gabby and her fiance. Now, the way she was emotional on August the 12th, let's go there now. So we're going to go to that week where on August the 12th, we'll note 20 with an outcome 2, the orange 20. Now, of course, when you're dealing with spousal murders and spousal issues between couples, there is going to be emotional markers and outbursts, fighting, war of words, backwards and forwards, all right? That is normal in a spousal relationship. But of course, in the case that you'll see with Gabby, when you have too many, you can see just this week alone, all the orange marked numbers are the emotional markers that week. Now, as a human being, you don't want emotional issues every day, all day, right? Because at some point, it's going to be nasty. So the video we just saw with her, with the police and so on, and there's a lot more we can talk about it, but for now, August the 12th, we note the 22. That is Gabby emotional outburst. That is what you're seeing when you see this picture. The 22 speaks to Gabby on the side of the road in an emotional state. Now, of course, not everyone, we don't want to find ourselves in that situation. But this is what Gabby was dealing with on that particular day. And it's shown here in the numbers, 22. Now, the reason why it's hidden, just from a general numerology point of view, 2, you always need to show the power number, right? So we've got a couple in distress, 11, 2. There's 2 people in distress. Now, although we are seeing the end of the outcome, because now let me explain myself. When we see the video of her crying, there's a whole sequence that happens up to her that was not necessarily known to everyone, but for example, moments before, Gabby and her fiance were seen at a store, and there's actually a video here of it, at a store, and he assaulted her by slapping her in the face outside this store here. Our witnesses, and it is described in detail in the book, our witnesses put him at this location here, having slapped her. Okay. Now, that is leading up to where we find them on the side of the road, the hidden 22. So there's already issues going on here. And the 16.7 speaks about serial nature, serial behavior. So the issues that Gabby and her fiance were dealing with were ongoing. This wasn't the first time that they stopped on the side of the road because of an argument. This was ongoing. Repetitive behavior. Now, as we know, the police made them separate at the end of the day, which is also the 16.7, separate in a couple, which I believe, which I mentioned later in the book, was the right thing to do at the time, because I'm of the belief that had they stayed together, August 14th been the detrimental day, had they stayed together. But because they were separated, it was avoided. So that was a good thing that they were separated. Of course, the other issue at the scene is Gabby behaves like the victim. I mean, the perpetrator, beg your pardon. Gabby was acting or behaving like she was the one responsible for the situation they were in. And that just speaks to the abuse and emotional abuse she was enduring in that relationship. Made to believe that it's her fault when in fact it wasn't. That unfortunately a little bit triggering that I'm going to say now, but speaks to the issue of battered woman syndrome. That someone's getting beaten so much and consistently, they continue, now they believe that they are the problem. And this is why I have this passion about looking at relationships, whether relationships are toxic or not, because these kind of things can be avoided. I know it's not always easy, but before you start that relationship and once those butterflies end, what is the reality that you actually find yourself in, and who is the person that you're with actually? So August the 13th, August the 13th is slightly problematic for me, and I highlighted the 26.8. Now, the 26.8 speaks to a couple having an argument. The 26.8 speaks to war of words that I believe, just intuitively, that the conversation that would have been happening over the phone, because you'll recall they were separated, would have been a war of words over the phone. And that 26.8 speaks to very nasty words. Okay. August 14. Now, this is a day that's going to impact Gabby, like, tremendously. And let me explain why. So let's just have a look at these numbers, and I'm going to show you a different slide. We note the 14-5 on August the 14th, August 4th, and then we have the 14-5. We've got a triple fives, and we've got the 13-4, and we have the pound number 22-4. Now, if I just go back a bit here. So on the top left here is Gabby's date of birth. This is from the book. We note the 13-4, the 22-4, and the 14-5. Okay. I'll say it again. 22-4, 13-4, and the 14-5. Those three numbers. 13-4, 22-4, and the 14-5. This day, when Gabby woke up this morning, I would say, whether he was physically outside the door or on the phone or whatever was going on this day, he was being belligerent towards her. This was a massive impact day emotionally on Gabby. The reason why it impacted her is because these are all her numbers here. So it was like there's full focus highlight on Gabby that morning. And why I say this day is detrimental is because we still have that 27, 9, 18, 9. These are the kind of numbers you don't want to see when a spousal situation happens. And it ends up in the scenario that we know it as of today. Okay. So that we see on August the 15th, we have a repetition of the fives. There's a lot of imbalance here. So let's talk about that and being a 5. When you have an imbalance of numbers, obviously things are out of control, things are out of kilter, things are not stable, right? Now, because the number is a 5, this means, and because Gabby is a life path 5, let's just go back here. You will see Gabby life path is a 5. So the year that this crime takes place in is a 5 year. So this is directly impacting on Gabby, unfortunately. And I make it very clear in the book, the continuous strain and the continuous anguish and emotional bombs going off around her has a compound effect. That the smiley face, and I mean with all respect, because of course, when we take photographs, particularly when we want everyone to know that everything is all right, is not exactly the case. And when you have a continuation of bombs, emotional bombs going off, you end up in the situation where we see Gabby at the back of the car here, back of the vehicle. And this is the issue where compound effects of emotional torture has a lasting effect. And it takes one day, one moment, and the whole thing goes to hell. And this is what happens here on August the 15th. So because of the fives and Gabby being a life path 5 brings about difficulties. And not on a regular, let's say we may find, we may encounter difficulties on a day-to-day basis for 1 or 2 days because maybe we're building something and, for example, we're bumping and life is uncomfortable. Don't worry, next week kitchen sorted. Do you know what I mean? That would be like a 1-5. But when you get a 555, you're talking earthquake stuff. And we must also keep in mind the age of Gabby. She was a young adult. She doesn't have the wisdom and knowledge that most adults have at a mature age. So she's dealing with it with the experience and knowledge that she has. And the one that she's been with is her fiance. So while the pot of water was nice and cool and calm and cold and warm, has now reached boiling point and ends up in a big fight argument again. 28-10-1. There's a war of words, audible. So I would assume by August the 15th, I mean, I don't know the finer detail, but I would say by August the 15th, this would have been audible. In other words, they would have been in the same room together. So, or in the same space. Okay. And again, on August the 16th, we see that 16-7 again, right? I'll speak more about it when we look at the red flags of the case. Currently, we're dealing with the emotional markers. For those that have joined, thank you very much. Really appreciate you guys being here. Relationships and toxic relationships are something that, you know, we can minimize it by 50%. Do you know what I mean? At least minimum. Do you know what I mean? All right. So this is where August the 16th is where they're going to part their ways, right? The narrative that we know is the fiance travels back to home in Florida, I believe, to sort out personal stuff. Or there's another narrative that says they were selling stuff to get more money. But I believe it was a bit of a separation opportunity. Which interestingly then puts Gabby on her own for a week. This is the week, August 17 to August 23, where Gabby is on her own. Now, as I've said in the book here, this was an opportunity for Gabby for a time of introspection, 13-4. Remember, she has a 13-4 in her life path in the middle of her day. And begin to build a plan. You'll recall the 22-4. This is the positive aspect of these numbers. For herself, 1. Because she is a life path 5, beg your pardon. But she has double 1s over here, beg your pardon. I'll show you now. In the day that she's born, 19-10-1 with a 1 outcome, and the year that she's born in, 28-10-1, 1. This is a person that is very single-minded, and once she makes up her decision, when she decides what she wants to do, she does it. And I believe this was one of the attributes, and no fault of our own. We're all entitled to our own confidence, our own point of views, and what we want to do with our lives. And this tour that she was doing, this is what she wanted to do wholeheartedly. She has the numbers to do it. And this is where one of the conflicts, I believe, comes in, is because I don't believe the boyfriend was fully up to this kind of lifestyle. I don't believe it. It might be a nice thing to do as a couple in the beginning. Oh, she'll get over it in a month's time. We'll go back to our normal life. Right? And I don't think this scenario for him, when he sees it going very well for her and she's now in the rhythm, I think this may have irked him a little bit. Because one, Gabby is fulfilling her dream. And was it necessarily his dream? And let me tell you, I've followed van life for a long time for various reasons as a YouTuber myself. I follow a couple of van lifers and solo living and all that kind of thing. It's not for everyone because some people prefer waking up in their usual apartment, their bed, their safety, their normal, and it's not for everyone. And I believe that was also playing a part in this case. Now, I just want to show you. So, Gabby has a week off, right? The boyfriend is away. Okay. Gabby is finally on her own. If you look at that week with the emotional markers, what the heck is going on here? There are still bombs going off every day. So August the 17th, I mean, this is supposed to be, let's call it for lack of a better word, vacation time, me time, get her shit together time. But it looks like what it looked like the week before. So on August the 17th, we see the 33. Now, I would go as far as to say on that 33, when the boyfriend leaves and goes home, she is completely, she just releases, right? All the anguish, the emotions, the trauma that she's been carrying over the however long they were together, right? She has a little meltdown, not a meltdown, but she has a good cry. Let's put it that way. Okay? And the next day, what happens? There's an argument. 26-8. Now, I'm sure we can agree, Gabby wasn't exactly having an argument with herself in the mirror, right? So Mr. Idiot is contacting her, continually communicating with her. We see August 20, 28, 10, another big argument there. On the phone, causing havoc. So not only is Gabby dealing with the, let's say, the baggage from the week before and the baggage from the weeks and months before, she's now also dealing with big mouth over the phone. When in fact, she should be taking time for herself. Guys, separate for a couple of days. Don't even talk to each other. Each respective partner goes into their own space, regroup, and let's talk about it in the morning. Because if you talk about it in the morning, you won't be in jail if things get out of hand, for one thing. Right? So on August the 19th, and we'll note, I beg your pardon, on August the 18th, we note that the outcome 13-4, that pings on Gabby. So all this is coming her way. the August 19, we have the triple fives, like the stack fives, as well as the 1455. So this day again is pinging on Gabby directly. Greetings, everyone. I'm just popping in on the comments here quickly. Welcome. Thank you for being here for the show. Hope everyone was doing all right. And if you're a replay viewer, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you. Let's see how we can identify toxic relationships. So far, we've been splattered here peppered with emotional bombs every day. This poor girl. August the 20th. Here's a big day, big emotional day. Now, this August 20, where we see the 22, is not the same as the 33 that we saw in August the 17th, right? The 22 is a repeat of what we're seeing on the roadside. But keep it in mind that they have been separated, or he's now back at home and she's still on the tour. So why is she having an emotional outburst? Because 28-10-1. There's arguments going on again. Not light conversations. How are you doing? Are you okay on your own? I'm really worried about you that you're on your own. No, okay, well, at least you're there. We've been there before. You're safe. I'm happy. Did that happen? Instead, there's vile words going on. You know? And the 15-6 here speaks about the arsehole. And unfortunately, with Gabby with the 14-5, and let me just go there so we're clear. Her date of birth. Sorry for the scrolling. I'll update and get better on the live sequencing. The 14-5. The 14-5 talks about these arseholes coming her way. And unfortunately, that was part of, we can say that happens to most women or all women. But in particular, because Gabby has the 14-5s, you're going to have those arseholes coming down, right? So even while Gabby was meant to be having her vacation, getting some air, regrouping, and thank you, Mia, for your comments. Yeah, I know this case, and I mentioned it in the book, Mia, that when this case broke, and I picked it up, I believe, when the boyfriend arrived back home, and everyone, obviously the news is, where is Gabby? From that moment, I was following the case because that's when it broke technically. But this whole case was happening in spirit. There was moments when I was seeing him in spirit, I was seeing her in spirit. I knew exactly where she was. And I believe there was a moment, a brief moment, a very brief moment that this gentleman right here, and I saw this in spirit, for a brief moment, he was going to hand himself in. There was a moment. And that moment was between when he was with his parents and when he went off into the woods. I believe for a very brief moment, he was going to hand himself in. because I had an image of him standing in court, in chains, in court. Let's say that was like the image I received in the afternoon. By the next morning, that image changed. He was not in court anymore. And then, of course, the news broke that he had now gone missing, and it was somewhere in the woods or in the swamps. So he obviously chose that route. So August 21, just looking at it now, August 21, we note the outcome 16-7. So this serial behavior, serial nature, ongoing issues, and we can see it here. I'm not making up stories. It was continuing, even while they were separated. Now, what interests me here is August the 22nd, because the 22-4 is Gabby in the morning. Is this the moment she realizes that he's coming back tomorrow? Because he returns allegedly the 23rd, right? But we have this 33 again, like we saw when he left. So is she having another cry because she knows what's coming? There's a lot of eights around here, very high emotions, a lot of bad energy going on around here, unfortunately for her. And you know, hindsight is 2020. And maybe psychically I could find out, but you know, was this the opportunity where she can, you know, just get on the road and never see him ever again, break it off and go on the road? Would you consider that? These are the things that happen in relationships. When the water becomes hot. And listen, I'm not being a judge here. I've been in 2 toxic relationships. The first one, at some point, I realized I was in a toxic relationship because I'd never felt so angry in my life towards a person. And in that moment, when I got angry, I realized I stopped in my head. I stopped, and I realized here's a problem. In my head, not with the partner. And eventually, about a month or 2 later, we went our separate ways. Because once you realize that you know, rather. So if we can avoid toxic relationships, let's do it. Jean, I see your comment. You're absolutely correct. I believe that is the case. Jean, I think he went back to unalive her. All right, so I'm still figuring out how the live bits work to highlight your comments. So hopefully by next stream I will, because that's an interesting comment. Because look here, and I agree with you 100%, Jean, because August the 23rd. So we've got the 23-5, we've got the imbalance of the fives, but we've got the 13-4 Gabby, the 18-9 is the boyfriend, but we got the 36-9, 18-9 will reflect on August the 28th, 18-9, and I do discuss this with the red flags. There's a red flag session when we're dealing with the actual murder elements. That the day he gets back with her on the tour, the numbers reflect the day that he murders her. Yes, Melissa, thank you. Yeah, avoiding toxic relationships is key. So you are quite right. The day he arrives, and this is what I was picking up in energy, was to add on to your point, is when he returns, and if Gabby does not go according to his plan and his demands, he is going to end it. And I believe that is the case because August the 24th, yeah, Genesis, it is so key here. Let's just avoid these toxic relationships. They don't serve any other purpose other than the idiot that's bringing the heat, right? So August 24, we have an imbalance of fives here again, right? Now we have the opposite of what Gabby is. Gabby has a 23-5 in her profile. So when you have a 32-5, it's the opposite of building a community. So this already tells me that the intent is to destroy her dream. And in the book, I make a discovery. While I was working on this case, I made a discovery. I'm just looking for I made a discovery that when he went up back the first time, of course, he discussed the situation with his parents, right? And I believe there was a decision made without Gabby's, first of all, inclusion in the decision, made by him and the parents allegedly, let's say. We are playing the game of bingo, yeah. But a decision was definitely made. And the reason why I say that is because the very next day, August the 24th, we see that 3710-1. We've seen this number many times. The people of authority, people of higher ups, but when you're dealing with an interpersonal relationship at the home level, 7 is the parents. So why are parents, and I believe it's coming from the fiance, why are the parents getting involved here? And I believe he would have used this against her as well. What is everyone going to say? You know, because I also believe when he was being forceful about this issue, she was going to end it with him. When he was not getting his way and he was being forceful, I believe Gabby put her foot down. And this is what triggered the events as we know it today. That she was going to leave him. I believe, and I've said this in the book, she was going to give him a stern, if anything, she gave him a stern ultimatum. And of course, and this is allegedly, this is what I picked up in the case. And when she gave that ultimatum is when things went awry. And I'm just looking here because I did identify it. On August the 27th, let's have a look here. Not discounting, but I just want to show you something. The issue on August 25, we got the 22 again, right? What you saw on the side of the road, 22. 16-7 around, serial nature. There's 16-7 in the middle of August 26. Ongoing behavior, arguments again. And those 26-8 on the 26th of August, those are arguments when she opens her eyes. Not she's had her coffee and they're walking around the shops and then they have an argument. When she wakes up, the heat is on. So August the 27th is, I believe, where the ultimatum is given. We have the outcome of the day, 22-4. Now, August the 27th, and I can scroll forward to get the exact time. But August the 27th is the last CCTV footage in the during the day, if I remember correctly, around 1, between 1 and 2, round about there, or about 3 o'clock. The last known CCTV footage of Gabby alive, August 27th. And isn't that a coincidence that that is the last time we see Gabby? Because why? We have a 44 in play. 40 with an outcome 4. And who is the 44? Is the fiance throwing his toys out the cot, having an outburst, getting angry, very dominant male energy, like abrasive. Okay. Yeah, Melissa, he couldn't control Gabby. Gabby's got 1 in the year that she's born, single-minded. Let me tell you, people that have a 4 in the day, the 13, 4, 22, 4, you're not going to change their minds for nothing. And you're certainly not going to change a 4 and a 1 when you're being the arsehole every day. But on August the 27th, the last time we see Gabby, there's a 44 outcome. There's a blowout here. He goes ballistic. And the video footage of him here at the crime scene, I mean, there's times where he's laughing and joking with the officers. I mean, are we joking here? All having a fat laugh. So very disturbing as well from the police perspective. All a big joke, eh? So what happens now, because Gabby has the 13, 4, and 4, because of this outburst, the 44, impacts, it's coming her way. That's why I say these weeks for Gabby must have been tremendous. And I speak about it in the book that we speak about the year that she's in, the 5. Let's speak about it now quickly. We spoke briefly that it brings about difficulties, and because she was a life path 5, it's on her. And of course, we're dealing in situations, particularly in this week, where we see masses of 5s. This is hugely detrimental for her. And when we get to the event day, which I believe was on August the 28th, and when you're looking for evidence, and in the case when you're investigating with numerology, your evidence are your numbers. And when you're dealing with a murder, you're looking for the number 189. On the August the 28th, that's why I say the previous week when he was still around, we had almost a similar situation. If they didn't separate her and they let them go on their merry way, it would have ended 2 days later. Because they were separated, then they went their separate ways, but the same issue persists. And the 36-9, I will say, and I'm always checking with Gabby and my discernment spirits, and we know it was a horrible outcome for her. So when we go from August the 27th, we have the male outburst, direct impact on Gabby. When Gabby wakes up the next morning, and I believe she woke up the next morning, as I said that I had pressure on my throat, quite intense actually. August 28, we have the 28-10-1. There's a physical verbal altercation happening in the confines of the small van. And the impression that I've got now, I'm almost led to believe that she woke up being strangled. Do you know what I mean? So I believe the murder happened in the daytime of August 28th with the 18-9. And the 41-5, so there's always confirmation of numbers, right? Or confirmation of facts as we know it. So we know in this case that Gabby was found outside in the open, right? So, which means he would have had to move her at some point from the van to where she was discovered. And we note the 41-5. Now, from a timing point of view, that 41-5 comes into play from sunset onwards, sunset. Because let me tell you what a 41-5 is, and this will be quite intense information. There's the time there. 2:58 was when we last saw her the day before. That 41-5, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, is what he did to her body post-mortem. 45-1 is the number where the perpetrators defile a corpse or a body after the fact. Okay, I'm not going to go further into that description. But the way and the manner in which they found her, of course, there were external elements, exterior elements, environmental conditions that affected her body and animals and so on. However, there was clear evidence of what he did to her. And that's the 41-5, what he did to her post-mortem. And unfortunately, it pings directly on Gabby, the 23-5 and the 14-5. That's her life path. That pings directly on Gabby. And this was a tremendous period for her, a couple of weeks, days, leading up to this whole situation. And this is why I say that if, you know, are we not looking to see what's happening in front of our eyes? Are we not seeing what's happening in front of our eyes? So yeah, and I will go deeper into the reason why I believe that's the day and so on. We'll go deeper in this broadcast even. I was only going to look at the emotional marks. Feeling, let's look at the 3 blue days as well. Oh, the red flags. Okay, let me not get twitchy. So here we have the overview of the days from August 11 to August 28. Okay. This is just the emotional markers of the 3 weeks leading up to the event. Now, you will agree, of course, this doesn't underpin the effects of post issues, of issues from the past that are still lingering in the subconscious or even the unconscious. That you have so many emotional impacts on you every day, all day, the whole month, And keeping in mind, cabin fever comes into play, confined spaces comes into play. Yes, we can park the car and step outside, but you're also spending a lot of time inside that van. And if you as a couple have unresolved issues, those issues are going to pop up in that space. And unfortunately, with the 6 years that we had to go and endure, um, some couples got in trouble because for the first time, they were locked in the same apartment for the first time. Without the noise, without the hoo-ha, without the schedules, without the whatever. And all of a sudden, you find yourselves looking at each other in your own space. And we did see an increase of spousal issues going into the 6 years. Yeah, it's not nice, man. So here's some extracts from the book, just speaking more on the emotional impacts. And of course, I do go into the red flags. And when you start adding red flags, and I'll just go to the main chart. And when you start adding the red flags on top of the emotional markers, so not only are we dealing with, we must understand something about fours. As much as they can be hard-assed, put it locally, beg your pardon, hard-assed, the rock, you can't get through that defense system. But as hard as the fours are, they're actually also the child. That's why there's so much resistance from fours, because they have to protect themselves, right? That's the nature of the four. But when you're getting bombed every day and you're getting all red flags coming through as well, it's going to start impacting you to the point when you can't even speak properly on the side of a road. And these are the situations we need to avoid. And that's why I still offer free toxicity tests to everyone. If you're in a new relationship, in a fairly new relationship, considering a relationship, please, you're welcome to email me with a date of birth. You and the new partner or current partner, I don't mind. Because if you can reduce it by at least 50%, we're going somewhere. Of course, we want to get it to 0, right? So I found a way to scroll without bugging your eyes. Sorry. First day on the job, live show. Let's have a look here. I'm going to share this in the live stream today, because this is the discovery that I made while reviewing this case. So we know there, and this is the interesting thing about a crime that happens in a 5-year. So in a 5-year, when a crime happens in a 5-year, the likelihood of resolution goes up tremendously. And the reason being is the fives, although the fives can be as corrupt as hell, dirty numbers, the worst a human being can be in the worst case scenario at the extreme of the scale, if you like. But if a crime happens within a 5-year, there will be disclosure at some point. Whether it's 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, there will be disclosure. And the disclosure, because it's a 5, there will be, for example, court cases, documents, etc., legal. And we know this has pretty much happened in the Gabby Petito case, in that there was also civil suits against the parents, right? So what I'm going to say is alleged, and this is just what I feel occurred. would have needed to be tested, but I believe they were found out, but only later, let's say, and don't quote me on this, but only 2 weeks after this date, they agree there was contact or knowledge of the crime between the son and the potential sister and daughter-in-law, right? Because they were engaged. But I'm saying, based on my research and investigation, that the parents knew before he even got there, got home. That's my opinion. And there's one number that proves that to me here. So August the 29th, we know, for example, August the 29th at around 10 a.m., around there, 10 a.m. in the morning, the fiance is spotted by two different eyewitness people, right? Two different eyewitnesses, giving him lifts to go somewhere on his own. Now, we note on August the 30th, right? We have the 33 in red, 33. Now, this is technically, in my opinion, 48 hours, approximately 40, well, less than 48 hours, let's say between 36 hours after the event, after the actual event, there's an emotional outburst. Now, that emotional outburst could not have come from Gabby. This is an emotional woman, female energy outburst, 33 on August 30. It could not have been Gabby making that emotional outburst. It could not have been Gabby's mom, because unfortunately, and my heart goes out to the families. This is terrible, and this you can avoid these situations. So who is the woman or female having the outburst here? It could only have been his mother, the fiance's mother, because it couldn't have been Gabby. It couldn't have been her mother. So who's the other woman having an outburst here? It is linked to the 3710-1, the parents making decisions. He has already contacted them by here. That 33 is a reflection. But the scary part, in my opinion, and allegedly, and we're only playing a game of bingo, on August the 30th, we've got that 38-11-2. A decision is made by the family, the living family, as it were. Come home, we're going to make a plan about the situation. There's family involvement here. The family involvement takes place within the reflection sequence of the crime scene. This is why I believe that his parents must have known before he got back home the second time. And what happens when he gets home? Because he has home here at 12/3, August 31. 44/8, there's a plan, the grand plan. How are we going to solve this problem? That is my opinion. So I'm going to pop in here, look at the comments quickly. We will figure out on the next one how to get them up, so I just wanted to make a joke about the show is clearly not sponsored by StreamYard, right? So I'm just trying it out for this broadcast. So far it's gone very smoothly operation-wise, so I'll just get a basic plan. But let me have a look at the comments. So I wanted to say, and I just saw, and this is not even on the topic, but I'm just going to say, Pina Cone, Pound Cone, beg your pardon, Pound Cone 777. I have a rule: I do not do kids. if unless they are in a crime or part of a crime. But on a general case thing, I've said it many times in my post, I'm not going to look at the kids. Yeah, Melissa, thank you for sharing your story. This is the thing this is the thing. If you can identify that the situation has gone a bit sour, and again, I keep saying, I understand it's not always easy, particularly when there's financial constraints involved as well. Okay. But man, all right. So, yeah, this was one heck of a case. Let's do this as well. Let's do this. I'm going to add this here. So in the book, I also do a compatibility test for the couple, right? So let's have a look at that. We're going to look at this as a compatibility test. This is not the final render in the book, so I don't want to mess with the master copy. So I'm using a previous version. But let's look at the couple here with their date of birth, right? Let's have a look at this. Now, when I first looked at their date of birth, so on top, we of course have Gabby's date of birth, and then the fiance's. Now, the issue here for me is, and look, everyone, they were adults, they made their own decisions, what they wanted to do with their lives, right? Now, in my opinion, I believe this relationship was more transactional. So let's have a look here. Gabby has a 28-10-1 in the year that she's born, which gives us the 10-1 outcome 1. That matches his 10-1 life path. And then she has a 19-10-1 in the day that she's born, and he has a 19-10-1. So in my opinion, he is the benefactor of the relationship. In other words, the relationship benefits him more than her. And the reason why I say that is the 19-10-1 is just, it's a fleeting pass, okay? Because the 19-10-1 is in her day, whereas it's in his life path zone, which means it's more about him than her, right? But the issue is she has the 10-1 in the year that she's born. And where that sits, the 10-1 speaks about family, lineage, heritage, but it also speaks about past lives. It talks about the karmic energy that we bring into this life or not. Now, the fact that she has a 10-1 positioned right there, and he has a 10-1 outcome, this was, for me, a karmic relationship. This was a karmic transactional relationship. And when you're dealing with numbers like 10-1, 10-1, and 1, it's all about the individual. What does the individual get out of the deal? Is there financial gain out of the deal? 1 is also about money. 10-1 is also about the group. Because if you look at their numbers, there's very little else that connects them. In fact, that's the only thing that connects them are those 2 sets of numbers. And, no relationship's perfect. We all have our situations. No, you never, we want the perfect relationship, but we want to get it as much as possible, right? So, I mentioned this, there's not even a 2 involved here on either side. 2 is about a relationship, actually. 2 is about engagement, connection. It comes with emotions too. Emotions is also the same as water, same as rain, the number 2, water. There's not even an emotional connection really between the two of them, in my opinion. You maybe also want to see numbers like a 6, and it can be different for every relationship, but I'm just saying, in terms of numbers that would represent love, a real connection, as even a just a heart connection. None of that. And in my opinion, because Gabby, she was 22 at the time, it's a 22-4 pings directly on the 22-4 in the day that she's born, right? So this tells me, and I mentioned it here as well, that Gabby was in sync with who she was. Gabby was in sync with who she was. The age that she was in, she was in sync with herself. And this is why I strongly believe that, yes, she was doing what she was meant to be doing. Her numbers speak to that. But I don't think it was for him. And I don't think it was for him is the issue. Yeah. He was along for the ride. And when it wasn't going his way, and when it became something of a hint of a success, and not even success, that I've just been told in spirit now, with Gabby around, it was also about she was happy. Gabby was finally happy doing what she was gonna do. And this is what I'm gonna show you guys something. Let me just jump off the screen here quickly. I'm gonna go to the beginning of the book. And this played a huge